Union Broadcast Center. I am here with big-time artist Kendall Reiss. She is shaking up the artistic world, just expanded down in Bristol, bought some space, partnered up with Commerce RI, I guess, on the acquisition of the space.
Absolutely.
Let's start with your art. I've only been exposed to it and seeing it online. Talk a little bit about what your motivation is, sort of how you got here, how it all developed.
Absolutely, I'm happy to, Josh. Thank you so much for having me
Yeah,
here
absolutely.
today. It's really a pleasure, and thanks to Commerce RI as well for, of course, supporting me through so many different processes of owning and starting a small business. So it's a real pleasure.
Never a dull moment.
Never.
No.
Always exciting, and an adventure, I must say.
Yeah, that's right.
So I can tell you a little bit about me personally as an artist, and then maybe we can talk a little bit more about the business. So I myself, actually, my undergraduate degree is in geology. And I ended up going back to school at RISD for a master's in jewelry and metalsmithing. And so my focus and my practice is as a jeweler. I do make limited production line work, I make commission work, but I also have an expanded practice which focuses on sculpture, installation, and a lot of different mediums.
I think you're understating it. It is a wild variety of different mediums being all sort of, but there's a theme to it all, right? There's like, you wouldn't look at it, I don't look at it and go, oh, that looks like one artist and that looks like an entirely different one. There seems to be some kind of organic common themes to what the work you're doing.
Absolutely. So being a Rhode Islander, I have to say a lot of my inspiration comes from nature and being outside and exploring. And of course, having studied geology, I'm a real student of nature. And so always out picking things up, whether it's on the shoreline or, as we were just saying, on the wonderful streets of Providence.
Yeah,
you never know what you might find.
Some of it good and some of it not so good.
Love to repurpose material. Providence had such a rich costume jewelry industry, so there's a lot of old material that's still kicking around, and you can really get inspired by that.
Yeah.
And that sort of paired with my sensibility, I think, about material and how to combine and put things together ends up being something that I guess drives the work. So.
And you left Rhode Island for a period of time and sort of traveled Americas. Talk a little bit about that and how that worked, and then why you came back.
Definitely. So. I did travel far and wide. I thought I might leave Rhode Island at a certain point, as many of us do, I think, having grown up here. But it was in part coming back to study here that brought me back, but also just working in and around this state and having a supportive industry that also was so focused on jewelry. So it made a lot of sense, and I came back, attended the Rhode Island School of Design, earned a master's degree in jewelry and metalsmithing in 2011. And when I got out of school, ended up going into the field as an educator. So I'm also a teacher.
Oh, great.
And then I decided to sort of also focus my efforts on entrepreneurship and starting this business.
And not for the faint of heart. How are you selling? How do you, I'm sure you've got some great fans and there's the word of mouth, but that gets you to Warren. Mm-hmm. And then how do you get beyond that? And how do you kind of create your brand? How does the Kendall Reiss brand? And you can see that it's starting to emerge as a brand. How do you build that?
Thanks, Josh. So, it's interesting. I feel like when you're just an individual person and sort of start out as a small business person and a sole proprietor, it takes a little while to feel like you are established. And so, I think just sort of keeping at it and continuing to work and continuing to make things that are interesting for me makes it interesting for others. And so I end up selling work and meeting a lot of people through like RISD's alumni sales, for example.
Right,
Those have been great ways of getting out there. And then a lot of it is word of mouth. A lot of it is something that gets transferred just one person to another. And then I do meet a lot of people, of course, in Bristol at the business, which
absolutely.
is wonderful. So,
and it's become such a little hotbed of both Bristol and Warren, which, 10, 15 years ago, especially Warren, was a dead man's zone. Not to be gender-driven, but, and now it's really become, a cool place to go shop, and there's a lot of different, clothing stores and design stores and sort of everything in between. Is that driving a lot of your foot traffic, a lot of the energy into the store?
Yeah, so I find that Bristol and Warren, sort of the East Bay area, is really coming up quite a bit in the arts. Of course, Warren was a little more hip than Bristol was to start,
Yeah.
but I think we're catching up slowly. So there's hope yet, and the sort of ways that I do get out there that are really incredibly helpful. There's a lot of local arts organizations that are really wonderful. So I try to partner, being an educator and somebody that cares a lot about my community. I end up trying to also have that be a focus of my business and the way that I operate. Oftentimes will be to partner with somebody like Art Night Bristol Warren, for example, and that will be happening July 26th at the gallery, actually, in the evening. So just partnering with these folks who are already out there supporting the arts and trying to really raise awareness, and then allowing that to sort of be a relationship that grows together.
You're allowed to tell people in Providence too. I just wanted to let you know.
Oh, good.
And people in Newport. We were just kicking around. Bob Whitcomb, who used to be the editorial page editor at the Providence Journal for decades, writes for us now. We were talking about the importance of Newport Art Museum and how, and now you have the Museum of Illustration, and, you're building this pretty big arts community. There's always been a lot of artists who worked out of Newport, but now you're getting some institutions really growing and becoming huge hubs of art in the Northeast now, and what the implications of that, and how that can drive the commerce and folks like yourself. As you were building the business and envisioning it, what took you to commerce to say, hey, I need some help in buying a building, and how this is all going to work, and how I'm going to sell enough of my art to be able to support this?
It's a very, very good question, Josh. Very important question. So
at the end of the day, as I always say about business, at the end of the day, we're all hardware stores, right?
Indeed.
You got to sell more nails. You got to sell enough nails to turn on the light and pay the staff and things like that.
All those fun adult things.
We're just hardware stores.
Yeah, we're just all hardware stores. I like that. I can identify, small fabricated objects in metal.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely. So essentially, I've been in business since 2012. And I've always rented studio space. I've been in multiple different places. I was up here in Providence at the AJ Land building for a bit. I was then down in Jamestown for a while. I ended up, my life moved back to Bristol, and I rented space in an industrial complex on Wood Street for, about 3 years or so. And there was this little building that was for sale across the street. I sort of had these dreams about potentially maybe being able to buy this little building at some point, and with a lot of help and a lot of support from good friends who are realtors who can do math better than I can, and other folks, I was pointed in the direction of Seed Corp, actually.
Oh, interesting.
Bank 5 helped me in Bristol. I got turned down by a lot of banks, and a lot of, it was difficult to find that funding. But Commerce RI came through. They were fabulous to work with.
And when did you close?
I closed in January of 2017.
Oh, so you've been at it for over a year.
Yeah, doing about 6 months of renovation in the space, and then I've been open since last July.
That's great.
So.
Did you put on a huge neon light
that
can be seen from all directions off 195,
the
etc.?
bat signal.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
indeed.
right. And now that you have your own space, what's it meant to you being able to focus on growing the business, and how's the business going?
Definitely. So it's been incredible to be able to be in a space that is fully ours, and means that can really use it in a lot of different ways. And so I have focused on getting the space up and running to start, but now we're able to start shifting towards exhibiting the work of other artists, putting together an exhibition that will open July 14th at the gallery. So
and who's going to be there? Who else will be there?
So there are 3 artists whose work will be featured: Alyn Carlson, Tanya Crane, and Art B. Genshin, and they are one jeweler and then 2 two-dimensional artists. Their work is phenomenal. The show is called Surface to Substrate, and it really looks at contemporary landscape. So it should be really interesting.
And you're going to send us all the information, and we're going to put a big feature out on it,
I
and all
hope
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
What's the biggest challenge for you? What's that thing that's like, oh, if I could just...
Yeah.
What is it?
Time.
Sound like me.
So obvious. But yeah, initially I think the really big challenge was finding funding and getting the support. Being a small business and someone who didn't have a long business history, I really had to work that initially to get securely in that space.
Right.
Now I think my focus is sort of shifting, and how do I really make the most out of being in Bristol on Wood Street, and what does it mean to have a local arts venue that isn't just a gallery space. It also serves as a teaching space. It also serves as my studio. Love to do all kinds of other interesting things down the road. So
I curse sleeping every single night.
Indeed.
I literally do. I'm like, oh, I just didn't have to sleep 4 hours a night.
That eating thing? I know. My
Waste
gosh.
of time.
Seriously.
Proven waste of time.
The beer drinking, though, that's okay.
Yeah, he seemed quite pleased with it. I think if Chip can get out of the one for me, one for you thing, they'll be more profitable
yes,
down
in
there.
good shape.
Shazan. Listen, I want to really thank you for coming on. We want to know more. Like, we love it when people come on. We love entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
We love focusing on entrepreneurs. You know, it's those people that take the risk and dive in there, and, you know, it's never easy, and there's a million days where you go, oh, what was I thinking? But at the end of the day, you also get to hire people and give them chances, and you get to build an economy and all those things. So congratulations on the success.
Thank you.
And we hope you'll come back and tell us
Absolutely.
about the expansion all over the world and the office in Paris and all those sort of things.
Definitely.
So Kendall Reiss, great artist, making it happen down in Bristol, Rhode Island. And want to thank everybody for tuning in. We're going to be back at 4 o'clock. We've got Gary Sass, the money man, talking about the state budget. And also, is there an economic bubble on the horizon? Then we've got Megan up at G Media. She'll be down talking about blockchain, what the implication of that is for all businesses, including news media, and also Saul Kaplan from Business Innovation Factory. And we're going to be talking about innovation, and what's going on at Amazon and some other places. So we'll see you back at 4 o'clock. Thanks for tuning in to Small Biz, and thanks for joining us at the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center.